Hello guys and welcome back to Dark Horse FM, and in today's video I'm literally just testing my mic and I'm also trying to discuss with you how I managed to overachieve with Austin FC in the MLS. Looking at the Major League Soccer currently, we are second in the league, second in our conference league, and basically also we are third in the major MLS league, like the combined league between Western and Eastern Conference. And to be fair, we were predicted to finish but second to the last, and I think we've improved our prediction rates. And currently we're 24th. We're predicted to finish 24th in the league, and with a few games to go during the season, um, yeah, excluding the 15 one that we had, with a few games left in the season, I think we're going to finish in the top half of the table, and we're starting to have good results as well. As you can see, we've come out from our dry spell, so we started to win games all over. And I'm going to show you the tactic I normally use to actually dominate MLS. This is one of the tactics, it's just one setup. And then this is the main tactic that I use. The alternative tactic, that's a 3 in front. I used this tactic when I noticed that the AI was always using 3 at the back, and I found it difficult to break them down when I used this 4-2-3-1. So I had to create a front 3 that could actually break down a back 3 defense. So if you're new to the channel, remember to leave a like for this video and also to subscribe to keep in touch whenever new videos come up. By the way, if you're I think I got everything covered. I think I got everything covered, yeah? Oh, yeah, I did. So then straight to the tactic. First, we're going to look at the 4-2-3-1. I have an alternative tactic that I use at the start of the season, which is a 4-3-3, but then I abandoned this tactic because I realized how it wasn't very useful for this team. These were not even the roles I started with, and I'm going to talk about that if there is time. But the first one we're going to look into is the 4-2-3-1, and then we'll look at the 4-3-3 separately and see how the teams work out and how the relationship with the players are selected. So guys, just to recap, we're going to look at the results we had during the season, and to be honest, I don't think I've actually spent time looking at this stats, so this is probably the first time I'm going to do this. Looking at the team stats, then we can see that we are not the highest in the amount of goals. We've got 47, but the team that has the most amount of goals in MLS is Atlanta United with 55. Most possession in the league, we're also not going to be at the top because we're not the best in possession as well. We finished 9th. So the tactic, although it may have some form of ball retention, it's not as high as San Jose. San Jose has 57% possession, guys. 57. That's really, really high. I don't know why I'm obsessed about possession. The least conceded in the league, we're not all there as well because we've actually conceded a good number of goals. We've conceded 35, and then the team that has the least conceded is Sporting Kansas City. I actually had a tough time playing against Sporting Kansas City. And then looking also at the most tackles, one of the teams with the most shutout, that's 2. We're not also included in this because we manage to concede goals every time we win games. We always tend to concede goals. So we have 8 goals, or we have 8 shutouts, sorry, and the team that has the highest is Seattle with 14. 8 minus 14, that's not a lot anyway. So looking at the team stats, we can tell that we're not doing as well as the how am I going to put it? As well as the best team are supposed to do, but that's also understandable because we are not the best team in the land. We're easily the worst team in the land, to be honest with you. But we've managed to somehow find ourselves in the top part of the division, and it shows that if we actually did well, if we actually got our results in most games that we might have gotten a draw or a defeat here and there, we might have been first on the league easily. So looking at the way the stats have set up, it shows that we're not doing anything that special in the league, but somehow we are in the top half of the table with a distance as well. So the tactic is actually helping to try to grind us through the league and help us rack up points as much as possible. Looking at the player stats, then we can see that what am I expecting from player stats? Okay, we have some standout features now. Most headers won is by our defender Freddie Kleeman. Most yellow cards is by Alexander Ring. This is a ball-winning destroyer. This is one of my best players in the entire team, Alexander Ring. So to be honest, individually the tactic works. So it helps each individual player actually perform to the best of their ability. So that's kind of how I set the tactic up, to try and get the best of my players in their preferred position, in their preferred role, in their preferred, PPMs, yeah, player preferred moves. Everything, the way I created the tactic was suited to each player in Austin FC, and somehow the relationship between other players actually helped the tactic work effectively. So you can see here that in the player stats, it shows that the tactic actually supports individual play. So then guys, straight to the 4-3-3. I keep saying 4-3-3. Straight to the 4-2-3-1. The mentality is set to balance, and I'm going to explain why. And quickly, I'm just going to say it out there. We are not best team in the line, so I couldn't go constantly with attacking. Most of the time throughout the season, I actually ended up playing with the attacking mentality, but then I realized towards the end of the season, we were shipping in a lot of goals, and in games that we could have won, or in games that the opposition was actually bigger than us, going with the balanced mentality sort of helped. So by all means, if you do download this tactic, do not be afraid to use the attack mentality, because I used it for a great number of games throughout the season. It's currently unbalanced because the season is coming towards an end, and I want to try and see out games and be more hands-on with the way I'm going to approach most of my matches. But first off, then the goalkeeper is a super keeper on defense. I did start with a standard goalkeeper on defense, but then I realized my goalkeeper Tarbell has an eccentricity of 10, so that might be good for a super keeper on defense. I also asked him to take more risks because we have tall players in our attacking lineup and in the midfield as well. So allowing him to take those long kicks forward, tall player meaning Aaron Schoenfield, he's 6'4", so the long balls from the goalkeeper really helped us win the first header, and then from there, target man on support duty somehow plays it to another striker that is faster, and then he gets the goal. In defense, we had to. Ouch! Let me take a break. In defense, I went for a flat back four as well. 2 fullbacks on attack duty, and then 2 central defenders. At first, it was 2 fullbacks on support, and then I realized that my front players were sort of isolated, and even though the fullbacks did get forward, they were not offering much in attack, so I had to switch them to attack. And then I changed both of them to play as on attack duty. Ideally, Sweat on the left hand side usually plays on support duty, but I had a new fullback that is really good. Is a young player from my under 21s, what the Americans would call the academy, or FC Academy. So I had this player come in. He is also on defend duty as well, recommended. But then I had him play on attack duty, and his potential is so high that I needed this guy to play and get forward. And he scored one amazing long range effort. If you follow my Twitter, you would actually see that goal. It's still on my Twitter, so check it out. And then using both fullbacks on attack duty actually helped us get more players in the advanced areas, and then helped us to overload the opposition as well. The 2 center halves are ball playing defenders. The 2 center halves are central defenders on defense, because I noticed we used to lose possession easily. I asked them to take fewer risks, and also one of the defenders has been asked to pass it shorter. And then the ball winning midfielder. This is the central midfield, and looking at this place, Alexander Ring is actually the player here, and Navarro is a player on the left hand side. Navarro is a more creative set. Even though Alexander Ring is very creative, his aggression is through the roof. So this guy is just my destroyer. Using Alexander Ring in midfield as a ball winning midfielder, that's my main player, and his instruction, as you can see, take more risks, because he has some vision and some passing range as well. Yep, 13, good enough for the MLS, I have to admit, and he does the job. So Navarro is usually the player here. Sometimes it's Pochettino as well, so sometimes I use Navarro in the deep line playmaker position. Good passing as well, 13-12, good for the MLS, but he plays as the holding midfielder. Why I use him as deep line forward? He is not as aggressive as Alexander Ring, so he's going to play as a deep line forward, a more controlled version of a midfielder as well. Now in attack, the front four are 1 wide target man on support, target forward. I need to get used to saying target forward. Wide target forward on support duty, no instructions whatsoever. His job is really simple. He's the target for where the goalkeeper is actually going to play the long balls to. So when the goalkeeper gets the ball to him, he circulates it to 1, 2, 3, and indeed Alexander Ring as well sometimes, because rings sometimes come from deep positions and get a long range effort into the goal. So Aaron Schoenfield can play as a wide target man on the left hand side on support duty, and then sometimes I use Schoenfield up front to play as a target forward, but more often than not he's always on the left hand side. And when Schoenfield is playing up front as a target forward on support duty, Dominguez is here playing as an inverted winger on support duty, but so far it's target forward on support. That's how I'm using. In the number 10 position is Pochettino. He's the creative outlet in the team. He has good passing, good vision, everything. He's like my guy. So Pochettino as an attacking midfielder on support. I chose attacking midfielder as opposed to the advanced playmaker, because I realized that he has the traits shoot from distance. If you use the advanced playmaker role, there's a clash with Pochettino's player preferred move, which says shoot less often. Pochettino likes to shoot from long range efforts, or he likes to take long range efforts, so I wanted him to be in that role and take long kicks. So if I'm using the advanced playmaker, duty. It's not going to actually take long kick. It might clash with his player preferred move. So you need to pay attention to that when you're creating tactics and giving your players certain roles. On the right hand side, I'm using an inverted winger on support duty. This role is actually the role that supports my youngster Avisa. Is it Avisa or Avisa? Kyle Avisa. He's an American. So this guy usually comes in for Drizzy in this position. Drizzy, apparently I've used him as a striker before, so sometimes Dominguez is also in this position. So there's a lot of movement and flexibility in the way the tactic is set up. I can switch it anyhow I want, considering the opposition. If the opposition are being too stressful in with one setup, I can just move players around, and that's how easy the tactic works out. And if I'm switching Schoenfield here, I can then change this player to inverted winger. If I take Schoenfield to play as a striker, as a target forward on attack duty, Drizzy is obviously going to play as, hang on a minute, Drizzy is obviously going to play as the inverted winger on support duty. So that's basically how it's set up. So I realized that in essence of talking about these three attacking players, I've somewhat covered what the striker does. He's either an advanced forward or a target forward on attack duty. If it's a target forward, is a target forward on support, and then an advanced forward on attack. I just remembered I'm supposed to talk about the 4-3-3, and I'm spending a lot of time talking about this 4-2-3-1. So looking at the team instruction really quickly, not too much. Press the opposition a bit more often, not extremely urgent. High pressing because I know we have tall players, but my defenders are not the fastest, so I just had my players play with a slightly higher defensive line because I don't want to be too deep, but I want them to engage your position a little bit, and then you started marking as well because I noticed that actually worked for my players. The opposition was actually tight marking me when I was playing against them, and I noticed my players is a standoff, so I just got really upset and then turned on tight marking for my players, and then throughout the course of the season actually helped us get better results. Get stuck in as well. You can actually turn this off if you don't like it because you might get a lot of cards, but if your players are aggressive enough, like I have Alexander Ring in midfield, he's a complete destroyer. So having get stuck in on might help your players to be more aggressive and towards the opposition as well. In transition, the team has been asked to counter press and to counter. I have a problem with counter press in this setup. I know it helps us get good results as well. It helps us to impose ourselves on the opposition. But if you do not have a fast player, like if you have Schoenfield, for example, and then he's not the fastest player, looking at acceleration and agility as well, he's not the fastest, so his aggression helps him as a target man to actually jump and win headers. But counter press, it might have a little problem there. But considering that you will not have a player that is 6'4" and acceleration 8, counter press should work for you, so I'm going to leave that on. The goalkeeper has been asked to distribute to fullbacks as well. This is tricky because I noticed that the opposition sometimes they tend to close us deep, even though I want my goalkeeper to distribute it to the target man up front. Towards the end of the season, I realized I had to change this to try and play out from the back more often because they started getting the idea that Schoenfield was going to be the target player, and then if the goalkeeper plays it to him, they can just mark him and then win the header before him. But more often than not, he wins the header. So towards the end of the season, I actually changed this from kick it long. I think it wasn't kick it long. I had it on kick it long for a while, then I later changed to distribute to fullbacks. But you can have them both on. You can have it on kick it long if you have a tall player. But I'm also going to assume you do not have Aaron Schoenfield in your team that is 6'4" and has high aggression as a target forward. So I'm going to leave this on distribute to fullbacks. In attack, first off, because Aaron Schoenfield is in the team and he is 6'4" and he's a target forward, I have play on for set pieces included, and I've also designed the set pieces to try and feature Aaron Schoenfield in the right area to play those either a near post cross or a far post cross towards wherever he is, wherever I want him to be. And I noticed that FM22, the AI is actually very adaptive. So you can have one set piece routine for an entire season and it doesn't work because they're going to read the game and then they're going to set a tall player to mark your tall player. So I tend to move Schoenfield around a bit, and then wherever I want him to, that's where I'm going to send my goal. That's where I'm going to ask my corner taker to take the corner to. Again, because I have Aaron Schoenfield in the team, I have flooded crosses on. If you do not, you have to leave this on mixed crosses. And then also, the team's width is wide because I want to try and spread the opposition, and I opted for wide. He was usually on fairly wide. If you switch this mentality to attacking, you would see that the width is now fairly wide. It was usually on fairly wide for most of the season, but then I realized the opposition was so clamped inside their box, and then with 3 defenders and 2 wing backs, there were like 5, and everybody was so many. Wow. I had to just switch to a wider attacking width and then a more balanced approach to try and allow the opposition to like spread out a little bit. I still use attacking mentality more often than not, but as it is, you've seen how you can actually tweak this tactic to suit your team. And also, I've set play for set pieces Aaron Schoenfield in mind, attacking width Basically everything else is as it should be. No expression, no run at defense, nothing. Just, that's it. While a lower league team, for example, or a team that is destined to finish at the bottom, for us to do well, you have to consider everything. So that's why I left all this stuff blank. Yeah, that's basically it. So for the 4-3-3, I'm going to try as quickly as possible to go over this in a minute. The front three is very, very simple. Aaron Schoenfield and Domingue gets to play as a deep lying forward on attack. Schoenfield is going to play as a target forward on attack duty as well. Drizzy is the false 9 on support duty. This is actually very simple. One target forward, one deep lying forward, one false 9 to actually link up with the midfield because there's literally nobody here. That's why he's the false 9. In central midfield, I use Pochettino. Pochettino is I wanted him to play as a playmaker this time. That's why I opted for roaming playmaker, because remember, if I use advanced playmaker, his shooting is going to be blocked. Shoot less often. I don't want him to shoot less often. I want him to shoot more. So having a roaming playmaker also means he can get up and down a little bit. And then Navarro and Ring, you can see there's more confusion again. Ring is supposed to be as a ball-winning midfielder on support. Having Ring as a ball-winning midfielder for one deep line playmaker on support DT as well. Player instructions: pass to shorter, take more risks, and close down more for the roaming playmaker. For the ball-winning midfielder, it's take more risks. For the deep line playmaker, it's pass it shorter to pass it to more creative players ahead of him. In the wing-back position, I'm using two wing-backs. Ideally, this was one automatic and the other automatic as well. But then I realized Lima was a bit more. He had better crossing, so I used him as a wing-back on attack duty. And then Sweat was not very good crosser of the ball, but he was a good defender as well, so I used him on support duty as well because I didn't just want it to be on defend. Using the two central defenders as two central defenders on defend duty, no instructions whatsoever. Super keeper is the super keeper on support this time, not defend, because I have so many players here on defend. And then these guys are going to go all the way up, and then the two wing backs are going to be all the way up, and then there's so many strikers up there, and then Alexander Ring as the ball-winning midfielder on support as well. He's going to be slightly up in this middle area. Deep line playmaker is going to be here. So the goalkeeper actually has the luxury to roam outside the edge of the box a little bit. In the team instructions, this one is actually attacking. So everybody's pressing the opposition up front. Much higher defensive line. High defensive line, much higher line of engagement. High pressing gets stuck in, you start marking as well. That's because they're trying to overload the opposition and try and keep occupied. To try and occupy their three center halves. This formation was actually meant to. I created this formation to actually deal with the three at the back systems that they use in the MLS. So in the transition phase, counter press, counter, and take long kick. See, I still left this on. Take long kicks. Yeah, I still have it here. So in possession, nothing whatsoever. Just let the team do whatever they want when they have the ball. I kid you not. And somehow it worked. So guys, that's a summary of the video, and that's how I was able to get the best out of Austin FC. Even though they are a team that was predicted to finish in the bottom half of the table, I actually was able to take them, and currently we're second, and throughout the end of the season I hope I'm going to finish with a good result. In fact, whatever we finish at this point is actually going to be a good result at the end. So I'm trying to win the league, to be honest. I don't know why that became an objective once I got so good with using Austin FC. Well, to be fair, I have to give you guys a little disclaimer. Before I started using Austin FC, what I tested out with Austin FC was something I watched from a video organized by Zealand and RDF. There was a do's and don'ts video about what you need to do in Football Manager and what you need to avoid in Football Manager. Mainly they focus on the things that you need to avoid. So if you haven't seen that video, you can search on YouTube. I can't actually attach the link because I'm not the creator of the video per se. But you can search the do's or the don'ts of Football Manager 2022. You'll probably find that the video is by Zealand and RDF, and they dropped a lot of insightful things about Football Manager. And using those tips that they gave, I think there were like 5 tips that they gave, I was actually able to get the best result from Austin FC. So you should check that video out. It's actually going to be very, very helpful. And also remember to subscribe to the channel as well, and to leave a like in this video if you actually found it useful. I'm also going to attach the tactic that I use for Austin FC in the description as well. It might be useful to you, and with the changes I actually showed you throughout the video, you might actually make those changes to suit your team and see how it takes you, how far it takes you in your own respective leagues. Thanks you guys for watching this video. Thanks you guys for watching, by the way, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.